Abel?
Quick question. That 58%, does that represent the number of students that are in the
Sorry, that are in the proficient and advanced bucket, or does that mean overall percentage increase? So if I got a 75, if the average was 75, how is everyone now doing the 90 average?
So,
I just want to make sure.
yeah, no, so what that 58%, what the growth, when we show the growth here, it's not about, it's our school compared to everyone else in the state that was in 8th grade and say, and had the same scores as our kids had. So it's like taking everyone who had a 220 across the state and measuring them from 8th to 10th grade. So it's really helping us see at the end of 8th grade what we're doing here and how our students are growing compared to other students.
Is this similar schools like ours, or
All.
schools?
All schools. So that 58% means that our students are growing at a rate of 50, as an average. And students do get their individual scores as well. But so that means that they're higher than 58% of, I hope I'm saying that right, but 58% of students in the state who scored what they had scored.
That's
So it's not an average based off of other students that have similar scores as they have.
It is an average, it is.
Is it a total average of the entire state? I find
Of
it hard
the
to believe.
Of the state, that's what the growth model is, that's what we're measured across. I'm going to show you, maybe I'm not understanding your question right.
So if 100 kids take the test from different communities, and the average is 50, let's say for example, that's the baseline that we base the percentage increase. So that means that our students scored a 75 compared to that baseline average across the entire state.
That's my, yes.
So when you took kids from Andover and from
Brockton.
and other schools, that was the average in our school. Our kids, yeah, I find that hard to believe.
Do tell one.
I just, when you look at and I go back to standardized tests because that's the only baseline we have. When you look at average SAT scores, for example, and you look at the average SAT scores across the state, and then you try to compare that average to what we have, it's probably not 50% higher.
Right, this is growth though. So if you say we had students who were coming in at, I'm not saying that it's accurate enough, but say they're coming in lower. They did not perform as well on their MCAS test. It just means that they are growing. It doesn't mean that their scores are higher than everyone else. It means their growth from their 220 to 230 is higher than someone else who's at 220 who's only growing to 225 in another
That's
district.
interesting.
Okay, sorry. That's why I said I might be missing something that you're saying.
Right.
So yes, it is literally about growth, not about growth compared to each other, to everyone who was at the same level in 8th grade.
And then my next question is, and I said this before, are we seeing the same type of improvement on the reading portion or the written? I'm not sure how now, but that portion of the SAT scores.
And well, what we showed, I don't have the current ones, so I'll have to see when they're in, but what we went over last time and gave the information on is that there are two different tests that don't work the same way, and I don't know if Mr. Lavoie, we can show it to the whole district. I can't remember if he was giving it to you or if he was presenting it to the district.
Yeah, I got the report.
Okay,
It was pretty flat, consistent across.
it was, as it showed, most other schools were as well, whether they were going up or down with MCAS. It's not a test that's comparable that way. I get it. You know numbers better than I do, so I have no problem like going over it.
Sure.
But I know that we did a lot of research on that because I thought it was a very valid, great question. But people were pretty clear with the understanding, and from what I understood of it, that you're measuring two different things with it.
But the baseline skill sets and the subject matter is still the same. I mean, you're not asking someone to take a test on chemistry and then compare it to a biology test, right? It's still reading comprehension. It's still language art type of skills. It's not a completely different sort of set of skills, right?
Yes and no. Again, I'm gonna, like if you were when we gave that, and I want to bring that in next time and maybe show everyone. When we gave it, it shows other schools that have growth or non-growth in MCAS having the same flat line. It's that it is measuring different things, and I'm sorry, I wish I had the notes in front of me because it always gets me a little bit confused of it.
Right.
And so I'd be happy to have that be my presentation next time, and so I can
No,
go to everyone.
No, it's fine. You measure success and improvement based on a baseline, right?
Yeah.
That we performed last year or the kids performed previously, and you show the improvement, which is great, but it's not consistent with other standardized tests. That's to say that.
But it's not a standardized test that way, and that's what I wanted, that's what I'd be happy, I would like to present it, because I'm telling you, we did, and I wish I had all of the detail now, but I just can't get it, but I'm telling you, we see the same thing in other schools as well, it's not measuring the same thing, so let me bring that in, I get your point, I absolutely get it, so let me bring it in and present it, and make sure that I'm clear, the way that I'm saying it as well.
Mr. Rossi?
Liz, we in school said, districts as far as schools.
I'll show you that in a moment. I have at least for our sending districts, and we can get you any other data that you want, but I have it for our sending districts. Okay, so this is our math, and again, we see that we've increased where we want to be, we want to be, well, obviously we want to be increasing in proficient and advanced. We certainly see an increase there. And what was remarkable to us about this, and I'll get to that to show you the growth in a moment, is I don't know if you remember, because I think it was at the beginning of last year, but we had our math department head, Sheila Ballinger, come in and talk to you about, with the change to Common Core, about the integrated math approach that we were taking. And it was literally taking our traditional Algebra 1, Geometry Algebra 2 system and changing it into integrated math 1, 2, and 3, which the idea was that it's much more problem-based, real life-based, and that all those maths were mixed together. So they're still getting the same skill, but they're getting it in a much different way, which seemed like, I would have learned that way better, and certainly seemed for a vocational school that is a better way to go. Very proud of our math department for taking that risk, because it was a risk in terms of that's not the way they learned, that's not what the textbooks have, but it's used in Europe. The integrated math is certainly was used in other countries as well and has proven success. So we were anticipating this year, we weren't happy about it, we were doing what we could to prevent it, but we were anticipating, last year's scores were going to go down and that the growth was going to go down. We weren't happy about that when I say it, but we realized that it was quite possible with the changeover because there was no way to get everything for 2 full years done within that time, that there weren't going to be some gaps, that people weren't going to be, the teachers were going to be as comfortable with the material, and they were working harder than I've seen any department work by far. And I think we have very hard-working departments. So we knew that was a reality when this happened, but the change had to happen at some point. So when we saw this, one, we were just so happy for the students before we even saw the growth, and we said, okay, because we certainly didn't want them sort of being guinea pigs in it. It was just, again, it had to make a change at some point. We had to go ahead and do it. So we see that the students improved. Now, the growth is not fantastic, but it did not go down, and we anticipate it will go nowhere but up. But we hadn't anticipated even going up this past year. So when we saw it, again, we're not saying, oh, we're celebrating and rejoicing, but we're saying, okay, with less of the content, and again, it's about the quality versus the quantity, with less of the quantity, our students' growth was still better. So imagine when they get everything that they need to get in this deeper, more meaningful way, where they're going to go with it. Again, I'll show you 2011 if you wonder and say, wow, that was really high, and it was. That was when we had the small group as well, the small group instruction, so we had double math, and I would say the math department did a fabulous job of looking at the data and working with students around the areas that they needed to grow in. Again, it was not a sustainable way to give the instruction, and again, it goes back to wanting them to really understand the thinking behind it and not just being able to take a test well.
Mr. Grandin?
If I go back to my previous comments, next year, it's going to change. Is that true?
Not next year. It's after 14, 15, so we have 2 more years, I believe, of
Doing what we're doing
MCAS.
now.
And then, yep.
But it's all going to change.
And then it will change. Now, with the integrated math, we'll be in good shape because that is the
It's
Common Core. So,
Taking some chances and going through.
yeah. I mean, whether we stay with MCAS or we're going to another system, we absolutely believe this is the best way for students to learn. But so certainly we'll be in better shape than had we not done that, we believe. Oh, I don't even know if we get the results from that either, but that's right. We're gonna. Oh, okay, we're gonna be piloting. We were chosen to pilot the math test, so it'll give us a little bit of information, but we don't even get the results from it. And so, yeah, I kind of blocked it out of my head because it's just another test, unfortunately, right now. But we will be piloting that.
Denise?
Was it pilot statewide?
There's schools, we're one of, and there's, I think most all vocational schools were chosen except for one or two. We were thinking because the technology piece that goes along, vocational schools tend to have more technology, and it has to, you need to be able to have that technology for the park test. But there's many schools that are, it wasn't for any reasoning like good, bad, and different, it was just the technology piece.
Mr. Rossi?
Yeah, Liz, in aligning the curriculum to the Common Core, where is that, how is that parks assessment in place with that?
The park is just the assessment for the Common Core.
Okay,
So it's like MCAS is to our frameworks, the park, they're changing over. So that is like the assessment for the Common Core.
So in
That's
other
the name
words, that is essentially will take place at that point.
Yes, that is our understanding. And at this point, it looks like it could be 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, and 11th grade could be the exit exam, but we don't even have that information yet.
So you don't know, will they be tested at grade 10 level? Is that-
It's looking like, we don't know, but it's looking like it could be up to 11th grade, that it could be every year.
Every year?
And it could be the 11th grade becomes the exit.